Welcome to the Nicholas Natali Show, where we chat with entrepreneurs, experts, and entertainers to help you live a more fulfilling life and take your business to the next level. Today, we're chatting with Morgan J. Morgan J is a musician and comedian based in Los Angeles. Morgan has made appearances on MTV's Wild 'N Out, NBC, and Comedy Central. He's a first-generation American. He takes his musical influences from his Brazilian and Italian background and 90s upbringing. He got his start in New York, where he attended the Tisch School of the Arts, while at the same time doing stand-up in the back rooms and bars of the alternative New York comedy scene. He's won multiple awards and festivals across the US, but with millions of followers across his social media platforms, he's most recognized from his viral TikToks and Instagram posts. This episode will be completely uninterrupted, absolutely ad-free, but the deal is, if we're going uninterrupted, before we dive in, please leave a 5-star review. This is the contract and the terms of service. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Share this episode with a friend that you know would benefit from it. These shares and reviews help me reach out to guests, which in turn will bring more value to you on how to live a fulfilling life. Riddle of the week: what's the best smelling insect? Stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out. That was the intro. Now here is the episode. Here's where I want to start, Morgan. This is what I know. Your dad was a surf rock pop star in Argentina before coming to the US and becoming known as the singing chef in New York. How has your father's passion for music and performing influenced you?
That's a good question. So just to give you full disclosure, my father passed away when I was a young boy.
6, right?
When I was 6. I had started piano lessons shortly before then. He definitely, sang to me and my brother as kids. And, having not really been able to know him, it's an interesting experience because now I'm traveling the country. I've garnered a small but substantial amount of success, some might say.
Yeah, I'd say.
It has allowed me to kind of get into the mind of somebody like him and what it might be like to be a, traveling pop star or singer or any type of musician or artist for that matter. Because I know he traveled around South America and Europe. I guess I'm just sort of like living like an echo in a way. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I'm obviously I'm more than that, but like, I wonder if he'd approve of the music I'm playing.
Oh, yeah,
but
that's interesting.
It's pretty interesting.
Do you think?
I don't know. If he's anything like my mom, he probably would just want me to be happy. So that's good. That's good for me. So
yeah, I think so. I also think that there's some, in regards to like nature and nurture, we have free will, but there's also things in our lives that play into who we are innately. And I almost wonder that, without projecting, if your father's passion for music and love for performing trickled its way through into your life, even without having to spend as much time with him.
I don't know. I have 2 older brothers. My middle brother is, he works a pretty normal corporate job for a major, like, what's the word? Esthetician company, like corporate. I honestly think he does something like
something shady.
No. Deciding like what size bottles to use and where to store them and who to purchase it from for like the different shampoo. You know what I mean? Like things like that. And then I have an oldest brother who lives in Florida. I believe he works at like Disney, working on the rides and maintaining them and building them and fixing them and things like that. So I don't know. I mean, I was the youngest. I'm the class clown. I was the one who was there to break the tension. I think I had a lot of time to learn from my older brother's mistakes and kind of develop something I wanted. And maybe there is a little truth to that, but I don't know. Because I personally think anybody could sing. So
hot take.
If they hot take, I think it's like any other muscle. If you worked it out, you'd get good at it.
Mm-hmm,
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also wonder if you said you're the youngest, right? The youngest, and both of your brothers are older. I wonder if you've gain some added confidence to pursue the things that you want to pursue just from seeing those mistakes and seeing your brothers go down different routes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know what it was in me that clicked, but not to say that nothing has clicked for them because they're doing fine, but I just really couldn't see myself working a normal, what people would consider a normal job.
Traditional.
You know what I mean? Traditional. Like, I just didn't want to be sitting at a desk the whole day, which, coincidentally, I don't even think it's a coincidence, but as I've gotten older, I've sit at a desk more and more because my career requires it of me, Luckily, you could do a lot of stuff on your phone, but There is something about coming to an office that kind of is nice. This is my office, so you know what I mean?
You feel at home in your office.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You get to craft it.
Absolutely.
Tell me about you first getting into comedy. And I'll say the first comedy show I ever went to, kind of late in the game, I went to a stand-up show in San Francisco, and I got there super early. I have no idea why. So all of the comics were there sitting at the bar beforehand, and I started chopping it up as you do. And I'm like, what got you into comedy? And everybody in the room was like, heartbreak, depression, really sad things. And they were like, I use comedy to work through those things, or I found comedy because I wanted to laugh when, I couldn't, or make people laugh when I couldn't laugh anymore. Not saying that you have something like that, but what pushed you into comedy?
I think I just wanted attention. I wanted girls to like me. I wanted people to like me. I just wanted attention. I think we kind of seek out the things that we were probably missing at home. I think after my dad died, my mom kind of had to, take double duty, work a lot of jobs, and we were kind of on our own a little bit as far as like entertaining ourselves and spending, and I think it kind of comes from there. As far as like trauma or heartbreak, I think those are things you can definitely draw upon to be a comedian, and I think it could feed some of your material. But I mean, I think, going to therapy and becoming a happy person and figuring things out is also beneficial. And I think anything you could draw, I think, because I know a lot of comedians who are a real bummer, and then they got really successful, and then they kind of became really pleasant to be around. So is it that it's trauma, or is it that like their current life is like miserable? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all relative as far as the problems we have. If you have like I think we as humans, we find something to overcome. Otherwise, it's kind of a boring life. You know what I mean? We find something. So
yeah, it gives purpose.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and comedy it could be one of many outlets. It doesn't have to be the end all be all outlet to which you work through things. I think to your point, it's like, yeah, some things make the stage and some things I keep private. Some things I'm going to handle in a different way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it'd be a bummer if I went and did an hour of material about my dead dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it could be, actually, I don't know. Maybe it could be hilarious. I really don't know anymore. It's anything could be entertainment nowadays. Literally, TikTok has proven that. So I say that in a very positive way.
We'll circle back to that. I got something for that. Let's fast forward a little bit to the odd jobs you've worked and this overall journey. So what I know is you've worked as a bicycle tour guide in New York. You've worked at a container store. You've had 6 years at the Apple Store. And I want to know, over the years, has there ever been moments in comedy, this pursuit, where you're like, man, I feel like this is getting difficult. Maybe I should make a decision here, whether to give up or not give up. And how did you get through those times?
So as far as like wanting to quit, I think there's a lot of times where I would tell myself, and I think a lot of artists or entertainers have this, like, I could probably just do something else and be happy. So for me, when I started around I think I was turning 20-ish in college in New York, I gave myself a timeline. You know what I mean? I literally said, I'll give myself 10 years to see if I can make a living doing this. So at least by the time I'm 30, there's plenty of time for me to change course or try something different. You know what I mean? I think that's something people don't really do, is give themselves time and patience, especially people who are part of Gen Z. I think their role models are just a little bit different than ours. And so, yeah, I mean, I think no matter what you do, I think you want to quit. You could, I don't know. There's going to be times when you're like, maybe I just want to try something else. Cause either it's boring, or it's miserable, or you've lost, interest, which I think the same thing is boring, but you've chosen not to change or evolve. And I guess it depends on what your motive is. Like if you're somebody who has a family and kids and people to provide for, and your motive is, I want to take care of my family, then I honestly don't really think it matters what you do, as long as you're doing that, right?
Right. Yeah.
I don't have a family to take care of. My motive is now to create this unique experience for people and bring joy to people, and that's kind of the mission statement. And as long as I keep doing that, no matter what I do, I think it really doesn't I can quit tomorrow and do something else. And as long as I keep doing that, I'll be okay.
And I think that's a valiant pursuit. I love that you gave yourself 10 years because there is the sense, and I feel like you're onto something here, that in more recent years, the instant gratification, how instant is getting shorter and shorter. And
It's becoming literally instant. It's literally like
virality overnight.
Yeah, and I've spoken to. I mean, I'm getting DMs since October, when this past October things have been kind of picking up on my Instagram, for example, and also on TikTok, where people are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm just finding out about you. You're literally blowing up."
Yeah,
I think that's kind of like a misconception everybody has. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 20. I'm 36 now, and I think I just have years of experience and grinding out, and I've built a career. And I think people in Gen Z, they see people go viral, and they see that. I see people who are in Gen Z or like early or late millennials, who I'll see them post on TikTok, fellow creators, like, how are you guys making money? Like, how do you make money? The bulk of my income does not come from social media. There's like other ways to do it, and you kind of really got to hustle. I don't know. It's not enough to go viral, because let's say you do go viral, that's like your catapult. And if you're not ready to fly or do all the other things that go along with that, being, how to market yourself, how to build a YouTube channel, what kind of content you're going to make, like some of these people go viral, and it's like, do you really love what you did there? Like, how are you going to turn this one moment into a full business? Does that make sense? And so I think you see a lot of burnout. I think you see a lot of emotional distress happening amongst certain creators. And I think the creators who succeed are the ones who kind of really buckle down and treat it like a job. And, I had to learn a lot of shit in the last 3 years, I mean, the term SEO has never been more prevalent in my vocabulary than, I didn't even know that was a term when I started comedy, but now I know all about it and how important it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Having to adapt and shift. And I think you're onto something when you're talking about, I feel like without having the experience behind the notoriety, people aren't ready. It sucks to be in a position to not be able to fulfill it, if that makes sense.
I agree. And that's when I was starting stand-up, there was many years and many moments, and sometimes they still happen, not as much anymore, but where I'm just sort of like, man, I deserve this, or I should get that. And without even thinking about what comes after the thing, right? Does that make sense? So if I landed a huge movie role, like, what comes after that? Are you gonna keep like? But if I landed at a very young age, like, am I really? Because at a young age, you like this, you want to be like appreciated and paid attention to, and at least for entertainers go. So, what does the follow through look like? What is? I forgot the original question or where we were going, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah. So let's take these 10 years of experience, 10 years plus that you have now, and break it down. You're making a living as a comedian now. You are hustling. If you had to streamline this process, knowing what you know now, what would you say the breakdown is for quickest way for a comedian to make a stable income?
Quickest way for a comedian to make a stable income, dude. It's if you asked me that question 10 years ago and you asked it to me now, it's like impossible to really answer. Well, the first thing I would say is you really have to, God, I want to make this succinct because I don't want to draw this out, but focus more on your focus more on your craft and focus more on your act, focus more of your persona on stage. Make sure that what you're doing on stage is something you'd buy a ticket to see. That's honestly the main thing I would say. If you are not willing to buy a ticket to see yourself, you are going to grow tired and sick of your own material and act and what you're doing. Okay? That's number one. So if you could find a creative flow or way to, I don't know, really enjoy what you're making, it's going to make everything else just like so much easier and fall into place, because you'll be doing stuff for no money with a smile on your face. You know what I mean? That's kind of what happened with me. When I started, when I started, I was doing stand-up, I did a little improv, I was doing sketch comedy, I was doing a bunch of little random things, plus all the different side jobs I was doing. and I felt spread thin. I was producing shows. I think about 10 years ago, I was producing shows here in LA, and I was like unfolding chairs for a show. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing, dude? Am I a comedy producer or am I a comedian? So, I made the decision like, I'm not going to produce shows anymore. And if I do, I'm going to have minimal effort or minimal involvement in it. And I'm just going to focus 100% on my act and like being the best I can be on stage. And then hopefully everything else will fall into place. And I think if you could show, so for the comedians or the entertainers watching, if you could show that you're really good at just the one thing, people will trust you to be good at other things. And then other jobs will fall into place, like literally, like if you want to make actual money, I mean, obviously you could like learn how to be a social media content creator. And honestly, there's everything you need to know is online. So if you have a little bit of charisma and talent, you definitely can do it. There's like a legit formula. You could literally talk to a brand manager and there's just ways to hook people in. And if you have content that's kind of compelling and you're a unique voice, then I think, you can make ad revenue on YouTube, TikTok Creator Fund, Instagram Reels has their program, Facebook has their program. You could live stream. There's just so many ways to do it. I mean, that's the other thing. It's like you learn you're going to have to become more of like a marketing person than an actual entertainer. So you got to make that decision of what you want to be, because you can get really tired of that lifestyle as well. I know people who love the game of getting views and follows and likes and generating content and income based on that. Like that is their profession, not the actual craft or art or what they're making. I mean, you see some of these videos people are making and it's like, they're just working the algorithm. So I feel like I didn't answer that question, but
I'll take it. I like it.
As far as what I'll say this, where does my income come from now? I make money off of college events, private events, which range from birthday parties, weddings, quinceañeras, literal corporate events. And those sometimes are virtual, which is one of the reasons why I have a setup, and that's kind of changed over the last several years. Comedy club tour dates. I get money off of commercial acting, television acting, and hopefully soon film acting. I also get money from streams on my Spotify, iTunes, and all the other music streaming services. So, even if you're like a small-time comedian, all those things could really add up, to be honest with you, to making anywhere between, $1,000 to $4,000 a month. I think I make more than that, but I think conservatively, if you put your nose to the grindstone, I think one of the things you have to realize for the first couple of months to years, you're going to make little to no money. So if you can handle that, then you'll be okay.
Getting through the dry phase.
Because then you'll be getting a lot of money, and then, you just kind of chalk it up to back wages. You know what I mean? So that's what I say it is. I say, I'm getting my back wages now.
It's coming in passively.
It's coming in. I mean, at least for this year and last year, yeah, it is coming in pretty well.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
I do think there is something to be said, what you're touching on. It almost feels like, in some respect, any sort of entertainment can't go without the social media side now. I'm wondering if you think, if you were to start today, you had to start over, is there a world where you could have the same amount of success, if not more, without social media?
Without it? Could I, like without social media?
Yeah, you or the general comedian.
I don't know, because within the industry, within the show business industry, there is, I think people do have favorites, and like, so if social media didn't exist, I think the Hollywood machine or the industry machine that creates stars would still be really, really powerful. I think right now you're kind of seeing like a middle class emergence of entertainers. I mean, if you talk to somebody who's 13, they'll name a bunch of people that they are fans of, and we wouldn't know any of them, And I think you'll see these like mini micro stars with like millions of followers, and they're important to a certain collective group of people, and I think that's something that can only happen now. And if social media did not exist, we would still be, looking up to the Tobey Maguires of our day, and I mean, who do you think is the currently I mean, there's only a couple of household names, but to become a star nowadays, it's like really, to become a household name, it's really hard.
Competitive.
I'll
Because
be
everything's
like,
so niche.
I'll be like, you know who I like? I like Chris Pine. And some people are like, who the fuck is Chris Pine? And you're like, what? You know what I'm saying? There's like so many outlets for entertainment. Me personally, I don't think I would be as successful as I am now without social media. That's just the truth of it. Because I had been doing, before social media had come out, I had been doing this for 8 or 9 years already. Before it had really took off, you know?
Could be to your benefit. You're coming in with 8 or 9 years of experience while everyone else is focusing on the social media side.
Well, I'll say that's the other part. Like, I think it's going to be a lot harder for comedians and artists to develop a really unique voice because they're going to be influenced by an algorithm and everything else they
Right.
see online, right? Because if you want to make more money on YouTube, it's better to put out a 10-minute video than it is to put a 5-minute video out. So you're going to be more inclined to like create a piece of work that's 10 minutes long just so you can get the ad revenue instead of just creating a piece that you like. You know what I mean? So
The
there's a lot
constraints are
of
different.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's different outside factors.
Yeah, it makes sense. I want to talk about touring a little bit more too, because here's what I know. Your first tour you hit around 40 colleges, and now you're touring all the time, it seems like you're always on go mode. What makes
Yeah.
touring so important for a comedian's career?
I mean, look, I am kind of traveled out. I don't love it. However, like for example, I'm not booking any tour dates. Like what you see on my website is what you see. There's a couple of more weekends left. There's just a couple one-nighters and not a lot coming up when you consider it.
By
you know?
intention.
By intention. I will have a huge fall tour, which will be my first real tour. Because between now and like a year ago, I've just sort of been kind of hitting cities up randomly to just see kind of like how my ticket sales are doing. And my ticket sales are doing pretty well.
That's awesome.
So with, I'll be dropping. Oh, but let me go back to the original question. Like, what is the importance of touring? I mean, look, it goes back to my mission statement. I feel a certain obligation, a certain sense of gratitude to my fans, the people who listen to my music, who share my videos, who will literally mess. I mean, look, dude, I don't want to like bring a bunch of like heaviness to this, but there's people who literally DM me like I'm going through like a really rough patch. One person was like, I was thinking about, unaliving myself. And then I came across one of your random videos. I didn't even know who you are. And it like really got me through a tough time. And the way I think is like, if one person messages me that, imagine how many other people you did that for. Right. And so, look, a doctor really does like actually save lives. You know what I mean? But I think we kind of as entertainers, we kind of underestimate the impact we have on our fans. And, it brings me a lot of joy when I go to a show and the laughs are rolling in and you could just see the smile on people's face. And like people come up to you after the show, like, you don't understand how much I needed that. Man, I did a show in Ontario, California in January. And then there was these two girls in the front row and I was like making a joke and one of the girls was laughing a lot and the other girl was just kind of like laughing a little bit and she was smiling and this and that. And then I got a DM that night and the girl was like, hey, this is the girl with the green hair in the front row. My sister has been having like the toughest time and I don't think I've seen her smile in like a year or two until she went to your show. So, we are needed. We are needed, bro. We're needed out there. So like for me, I'm going to get all my touring done in kind of like one shot. And I think it's just part of the territory. It's part of building a fan base, part of building. Well, the other thing is like touring creates opportunities to create content also. So, when I go to shows, I film all the shows and then I'll sift through the footage to see what clips I can find and things like that to post onto social media.
It's almost as though, have you ever had, I'm sure you have, you meet somebody online and then you meet them in person, there's something that changes. Like not to say that there isn't a relationship that's built before, but it almost deepens the connection that's already there. So in an instance where somebody who's a fan of your work and then they come see you in person, it's like now there's like a true resonancy, a true relationship that is formed on
I find
another
that they
level.
become bigger fans of me if they see me live. I think because They just see me as a dude who does crowd work with my guitar on TikTok. But the truth is, when they see a show, I'm doing like, 8 to 10 actual songs, right? And they'll come up to me and they'll be like, this is better than I thought it was going to be. They were like, I know you're like a TikToker. They know me as a TikToker.
How does that
right?
hit you? Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, that's just the culture they're brought up in. That's what they know me as, And in fact, that makes me happy because I feel like I'm adding value to a live experience for them. You know what I mean? Because for them, I think they're just used to this, like that dopamine rush, and it's important for me to include the audience and create a unique experience that hopefully they won't forget, because it is so hard to grab their attention, So that's why like my set is very hands-on with the crowd for the most part. Every song has some sort of interaction written into it for the most part.
That's smart though, because our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. And speaking of crowd work, do you have a specific strategy, or what's your process when you go through crowd work and engaging people on stage? Because it's all improvised. All what you see, what you feel.
For the most part, all the crowd work is improvised. I don't think I'm that good at crowd work between you and me. I think I kind of am doing a little magic trick because I sing well and I play guitar. I do think I have these like really good moments. I think 9 out of 10 times what I'm doing up there is kind of mid, but I think the music and the guitar that's how I see it.
Yeah. Self-awareness, it's important.
I'm totally aware of that, but sometimes when it hits, like it hits so fucking hard. And I think like, look, I have gotten a little bit lazy with it. I'm like here, like confessing, like, yeah, I guess I kind of like got a little bit lazy. Because when I first started doing it, I got really nervous. I'm like, what am I going to do? This crowd work isn't like, what if this goes bad? Right. And it just never went bad. Like it never felt bad. So at a certain time, I just stopped getting nervous and I started just trusting myself and be like, just knowing that I have this like X-Men power of just singing and talking and kind of laser focusing it. And now it's just a matter of like, I got to just push it a little bit further. I don't like to alienate people. I don't like to come at people. I don't like to really roast people. If you see my sets, we do make fun, but it doesn't feel like I'm really attacking you,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, my stepdad, like he has Parkinson's, and I remember a long time ago when I started doing stand-up, a comedian made fun of him for being drunk or like an alcoholic, and it just was because he had Parkinson's, like he was just like a little bit shaky. And so I think about that from time to time. Like I keep that in mind if somebody's ill or if somebody, I don't know, or anything that somebody might be insecure about, their weight, I don't even know. Like I get cold sores, right? So like if somebody started telling jokes about like herpes on your mouth, like I would be like a little bit insecure about it, but also I'm like a comedian and I could take it. But somebody else might be totally mortified and insecure about it. You know what I mean? And I just think about that. So that's why the crowd work, I could probably go further and be more ruthless with the crowd work, like very easily. I could easily be like mean and ruthless with the crowd work. And over music, it could probably be hilarious, but I just don't want to do that to people. So I just sort of stick to talking about sex and dating and relationships and fucking. I don't know if I could swear, but I feel like that's something we could all kind of binds us. Common ground.
Yeah.
We all want to have sex.
That was the episode. You just listened to it. Be sure to tune in to part 2. Morgan J will be back, bringing even more insights into his comedy career. Part 2 is releasing on Monday at 6 a.m. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Remember, you're contractually obligated based on what we said at the beginning in the intro. Share this episode with a friend that you appreciate. It'll take 5 seconds and is a wonderful use of your screen time. Hit me up on Instagram. I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but I love hearing your thoughts at Nicholas Natali. I reply to every DM. The real reason you're still here, you want to know the answer to the riddle of the week. What's the best smelling insect? A deodorant. Ooh, That's good. That's good. Those deodorant ants can really stop some precipitation. That's probably why they smell so good. Thank you for tuning in. See you next Monday at 6 a.m. Be kind, be strong, be disciplined. Have a great weekend. And be obsessed. Bye. Bye.